normalizing translanguaging. In other words, the transition between African languages and English. In hierdie gewone Engels praat ons van code switching. You can hear me code switching? Gewone Engels, Afrikaans, English, you know code switching? That is actually what Prof was all about. And he is saying, what are the implications for assessment and national exams, where the multilingual knowledge are treated as a liability and where learners are penalized for their multi-language abilities. I know that last year we were confronted with some of these issues during the marking period. So this is definitely a bone to chew on for the assessment bodies. How do we accommodate this multilingual languages then also in our assessment practices? We then move to the presentation of Mr. Wababa. His presentation was actually linked with what Prof. Makalela was presenting. Mr. Wababa gave us a report from the piloting of mother tongue-based bilingual education in the Eastern Cape. And it is clear that there is empirical evidence that learners are, or learner performs better if the language and teaching as well as the assessment is done in the mother tongue. So that also leaves this Lekgotla with another bone to chew on. And I must say, these presentations spark debates. We saw hands flying up. Very, very interesting debates. But I must say, colleagues, also a little bit emotional, because these presentations took some of us back to the apartheid era. So most of us actually then raise our hands to give input, to give comments, and maybe not necessarily posing questions to the presenters, but you can see that there's a seed and there's a lot still on the table to be discussed and to be done. This is what those two presentations left us with, colleagues, those questions. This was then followed by Mr. Powane. This was a very clear-cut, sober presentation, reminding the DBE as an assessment body of what was good in the NEC 2022 and what was not so good. Now, I don't know whether it was Dr. Polia or the DG that commented on the very first day that what is being done at the level of DBE is that they include these Umalusi directives as part of their PMDS to make sure that we sort of speak to those directives, to make sure that we actually bring change and close those gaps. I think that is what we can also take back as the different provinces. Maybe that is a practice that we all then should mirror. Colleagues, this was followed by Mr. Frans from the Western Cape, who shared some best practices on the accommodation of learners with special needs. Very, very passionate presentation. And it reminded me of one of the quotes of last night at the gala, stating that if you love what you do, you don't have to work for a day in your life. And that is the feeling that Mr. Frans gave me with that presentation. And I don't want to brag, but Northern Cape already booked flights to go and witness firsthand that miracles that they are doing with regards to special needs and accommodation. Please, I don't want to brag. Thank you, Mr. Frans. So, colleagues, remember that the reason for rotating the NEAC Lekgotlas in the different provinces is precisely because we want to learn and experience firsthand the best practices of the different provinces. And that's why, sort of towards the closing, the KZN team under the leadership of the Lion, I don't see the Lion. Yes, under the leadership of the Lion, then showcased their best practices by presenting to us how they manage district examinations, independent schools, and special schools. Food for thought there, colleagues. And of course, this was followed by the very unforgettable treat, a boat trip. Hey, let's give KZN a hand. And to top it all, that enjoyable gala that we had last night, which I also agree with some of the colleagues who were there, that this was actually a reunion for us, a reunion. Remember, it's the first face-to-face that we are having. The last time we met in Cape Town in 2020, just before the lockdown. So really it was a reunion, and even this Lekgotla is a union on its own. So, colleagues, KZN, you have set the bar. One of my colleagues was saying this morning, but I want to see the Lion. He was saying, you know, it seems to me like the other provinces, we must now compete for second place because KZN is already here. We are going to compete for second place, colleagues. So thank you for hosting us, KZN, and for the unforgettable treats that we've experienced. We are going to take this with us on our journey. So colleagues, this now brings me back then to our program. That was the recap for day 2.